Good morning. Welcome back inside the Discovery Loft. We have an incredibly big lesson coming from the smallest creature here at the loft, Miss Bonnie. She really taught us over the weekend that the importance of relational bridging and how that works inside of our communication patterns. So one thing that Bonnie has the disadvantage of here at the Discovery Loft is being the most small creature. So she can't just push and shove and get her way. She has to actually use her cognitive abilities quite often to accomplish her goals and what she wants for herself. So over the weekend, I had a pretty bad headache. I didn't really know what she wanted, so I laid back down, closed my eyes, and she booped me right in the face. Pretty aggressively, too. Like, I'm still a little like, can't believe she hit me in the face like that. But she stood there stunned looking back at me, and I said, do you need to go outside? Like, I'm guessing at this point. And she like just nodded her head, yes, that's what I need to do. She immediately ran to the back door. She ran outside. It's like she couldn't wait another minute. So I realized Bonnie was at an impasse. Like, I absolutely have a need that needs to be met. However, I have no idea how I'm going to meet it unless I act, right? Because Bonnie loves to make mom and dad happy, and she does not like doing things that she knows we don't like. So it puts a great deal of pressure on her to figure out how to communicate most of the time, because I don't think I put the amount of effort into understanding her that she puts into understanding me. However, she's got a lot more time to pattern map me and study me than I do her because of all the other creatures that live inside the loft. But that being said, she has a much better ability to bridge the relationship understanding and find communication mechanisms that work to accomplish her goals. So Bonnie has taken the time to observe the things that mean something to me, the symbols that mean something to me. So why this was so incredible to me is Bonnie has never nodded to me before. She has never said, yes, that's what I want before. However, we're in a new space. We have a new house. We're really going through a lot of changes in her environment and the way we do things. So it's forcing her to speak more clearly than I've ever seen her have to do. So being the smallest creature here means that she's actually trying to use other mechanisms inside her cognition, at least that's what I believe is happening, to accomplish her goals rather than brute force. This is a dynamic that we can all learn from, because Bonnie's not concerned with what things mean to her. She's trying to find symbols and actions that mean something to me that alert me what she needs. So often when we're communicating with each other, we expect other people to understand what we mean, regardless of the fact that we haven't given them any anchor points or really any orientation to where we are at. So Bonnie does this very naturally, where she's finding symbols that mean something to me versus her, because if she understands her but I don't, she can't meet her own needs. This exact same thing happens inside our relationships, inside our communication patterns, and I routinely see people frustrated with another person because they didn't understand what we meant. And the truth is, first of all, are you even keeping track of what you're saying, and is that really what you meant? And second of all, why is it the responsibility of somebody else to orient themselves to what you're looking for, what you need, and what you meant? So we need to have an understanding that sometimes in order to fulfill our needs and our wants, we need to find better ways to communicate that to other people, and symbolism and mechanisms and signals that allow someone to orient to really what we need and what we want. Because I do believe if we're able to bridge some of those relationship gaps, especially cognitively and communicatively, I think we're going to see a lot less misunderstanding. And even just having the understanding that a lot of times we're not transmitting exactly what we think we are, or at least with the same understanding, because when we say something, it's connected to all the little data points inside of our head. We have emotional attachments, we have relationship attachments, we have social context, all these different things that map inside of our head that formulate the architecture of the words we're actually speaking to another person. And our hope is that it conveys our meaning. But the truth is, I don't know that we can always say what we're saying is oriented to the meaning, because I don't know how much of us are really watching our thoughts and how those things are attached to internally and they're not attached externally. So we can lose a lot of continuity when we verbalize things. And which means that when it lands inside of another person's cognition, inside their field with all the other layers of perception around them, we have to make sure that our message lands and actually moves the needle along towards where we're hoping to go, rather than just being hit with a lot of misunderstanding. And of course, if that first exchange goes bad, humans typically want to say, well, it's their fault. It's not my fault. I said this. And really, if we look back, I've actually started recording a lot of my my raw signals, like my raw thoughts, and they don't come out in the order that I think they are. So watching myself have a pattern of cognition that isn't incredibly clear until I refine it further down, I've realized how much of the initial conversation that we're having with people is what I call really raw signal. And that raw signal can look really disoriented to somebody else because you're able to express it because of that pattern, that huge neural net that you're attaching all of those things to. So now I'm getting long, but there's a lot of things and a lot of context that happen internally inside of our cognition that is not expressed externally. And then we often feel confused why that person didn't understand us. So I'm not saying that you're just never going to be understood and that you have to do things for other people. What I'm saying is we need to refine our thoughts to the point where they're communicatable to other people and they can survive the field of transmission. So what do I mean by that? The field of transmission is like all the things that thing we want to express has to go through before it gets misinterpreted in somebody else's field. And Bonnie is an incredible example of how you do that. And she does it in the most simple ways, the most effective ways. And she just really was a huge reminder that what we say and how we communicate and get what we want or what we need really depends on the ways we're willing to study and model the behaviors that mean things to other people, and how we adapt them inside our system so that we can actually work to communicate in a more effective way. So huge lesson coming out of this tiny dog, and I was just here for it this morning. So sorry that went long, but I was so excited to tell you guys about that and say good morning to Miss Bonnie. So we'll see you guys inside the loft very soon. Bye.